You know, there's still a bunch of that stereotyping bullshit that goes around. You know?
That's true.
So, where does that come from?
I would say it has to come from the home. You know, that's the number one place where I teach my kids about life.
Racism is something we made. Everybody keeps saying somebody needs to do something, and the somebody is me. Each one of us needs to do something. We're all U.S. citizens. We should take pride in that above everything else. That is our common bond. We're all human beings. Welcome to America Undivided. I'm happy today to be sitting here with a real life celebrity. Neo, you're with Tummy Talk?
Yes, that's correct. Tummy Talk is the name of the skit or the gig that we do, but yeah, mostly everyone knows me as Tummy Talk.
Tummy Talk. Well, tell us a little bit about that for people that maybe might not have seen it, that need to go look it up.
Well, it just got started with 3 other guys who are percussionists, and they wanted a drum on something different other than just your normal drum. I get a call one day, and I end up in a room with my shirt off with 3 guys in a tuxedo, and they started, beating on me, and that's where it started. I started to become the human drum.
The human drum?
Yeah, the human drum, which is called Tummy Talk, and it's been a roller coaster from there. Just actually, not now. It's the roller coaster has calmed down.
Right.
But in 2013, our video was the first video on YouTube to go viral. So yeah. Wow. So that's how we got popular, or was able to travel the world and whatnot. And our first gig was Jimmy Kimmel, which was awesome. Shout out to Jimmy Kimmel. Thanks for letting us be on your show. Awesome guy. It was fun being on there. So
that's cool. Yeah. So you guys just get a call from Jimmy Kimmel. Hey, why don't you come in?
Yeah. And we were on a plane, first class. Thank you again. And we went out there to LA Hollywood, and performed.
And where all have you been? I mean, where all did that take you?
Obviously it took us around the globe. But we've been to Singapore and London, Germany, France, of course LA. We performed in Culver City, and
amazing.
Yeah, and that was pretty cool. Actually, when we performed in Culver City, was walked the red carpet, and there was some big time comedians there, celebrities and whatnot. And one of them was Sarah Silverman.
Nice. So had you done anything like this before?
No, other than just, little video skits here and there, but nothing big like this. And so it's pretty cool. I walk around Walmart and, hey, that's that guy. That's awesome. That's that guy. And he takes off his shirt, so I still get, shout outs here and there and whatnot. So it's pretty cool.
Hat is off.
Thank you.
To anybody that's willing to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's taken me probably a year and a half to be sitting here with you. I had this idea, as actually answer to some praying and stuff. But I had it for like a year and a half before I actually sat down in front of the camera and did it.
Oh, nice.
And, I tried to figure out every way around me having to put myself out there and do that. Yeah. It's a lot more uncomfortable, I think, for most people than they would ever admit or realize, So whenever I see somebody that's willing to put themselves out there like that. So where did you grow up?
I grew up here in West Jordan. Born in California. Moved out here when I was 7, but I was raised in West Jordan. Okay. And so, just to add on to that in front of the camera, my dad always told me and my siblings, "Oke ma" means don't be shy. Oh. Said don't be shy. So whatever we did in life, you do it to the fullest, and don't be shy about it. If you want to say something, say something. And I think for me, being in front of the camera was like, yeah, I like to be comical. I like to be funny, make people laugh, put a smile on their face. So, yeah, so I don't want to say it came natural, but it was a lot easier for me to be in there in front of the camera.
Well, I would think now, being Polynesian descent, right? Growing up in Utah, you're more of a minority. Yeah. Right? Right. So with a topic like this, I mean, America Undivided is all about, how could we bring Americans together? I was sickened by the amount of media, self-interest, politics, all intent on driving a wedge between us as Americans for their own whatever gain, Yeah. And so, as I said, I was doing a lot of praying and meditating on how could I add some value? How could I, try and combat this? How could I create a point where Americans could come together? Yeah. America Undivided, this petition is all about trying to bring Americans together and try and turn the page on racism. So how has maybe racism affected you growing up in Utah?
Well, I want to take you back to where I went to high school. So I grew up in West Jordan, and where I grew up there was different races there and whatnot. And, blacks, Mexicans, Samoans, Tongans. And then, of course, you had your whites. But I was bused to the east side of the valley, and I went to Skyline High School. I went to Churchill Junior High first, my 8th and 9th grade. But anyway, I went to school out there the rest of my junior high and high school days. And I got the opportunity to grow up with a lot of white people, and a lot of those white people are my best friends to this day, and I thank them for, maybe changing my life or making me who I am right now, because I have two point of views of, I know how some of these white people are, and I know how minorities are and whatnot, and then I could get mad at both of them. It's like, I don't want to hang out with that dude. I don't hang out with that guy, no matter if you're white or colored or whatever. Right. But for me, other white people would see me when they didn't know me, or when they don't know me, they kind of, shy away, like, oh, that guy's. I've always been big all my life. I've always looked like a dude, like, oh yeah, he look like he's about to do damage, and I don't know if the stereotype is like he looks like a thug or whatnot, but I do look like I do look like one, but I'm not. And for me, racism, I think I just gotta say is like, I like to know a person before I even judge them. And, when I would hear things about racism and whatnot, I don't like to get into it. I don't like to get into confrontations like that or whatnot, but it's there. I wish I can be that person, to step up, like, no, that's wrong, and I should be doing that, because my kids are Samoan, they're going to run into those problems, and I gotta be able to show them, like, hey, you gotta put your foot down and say something, because racism isn't right.
Have you seen the movie The Hate U Give? Your story kind of reminded me of it, because they did an amazing thing, in my opinion, by telling the story through the eyes of a child. So of course, for us as adults, you know, at least for me, I guess I should say, you know, to be watching this through the eyes of a child, it's a lot less defensive. Mm-hmm. So therefore, the message is better received. Number one. But this is a black girl growing up in America that had experienced shooting as a young child of one of her friends getting shot right in front of her. So her parents, being good parents, right, said, hey, we're not living in the best neighborhood, so we want our daughter to go to a private school with, you know, better group of better education. Yeah. You know what I mean? Better group, better surroundings. Yeah. And so here the daughter's going to school with all the white kids. Mm-hmm. But she lives in not so great part of town, right, with all the predominantly black people, yeah, right? And so now she's living this double life. And when she's at home around her friends there, she acts a certain way. And when she's at school around her friends there, she acts a certain way. Oh, wow. Yeah. Regardless of how they're acting. Right. Because they're not always acting the best they should. You know what I mean? Yeah. But she keeps her mouth shut. She plays the role, right? And then her friend gets shot in front of her again. And now she was a witness to it, and the only witness to it, and the two worlds come crashing together. And reality hits, and then of course the whole dynamic of that, right? And so I think, as you put it, you know, that experience, you being that person that lived in both worlds, gave you coping skills. Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean? That probably helped you a lot more. Oh, yeah. But I feel you. You know, I grew up in Alabama. Oh, man. You know? And I'm 50 years old, so I was born in 1969. So back when all the stuff that we read about now was just all fresh and just happened, right? Yeah. You must have seen a lot out there. And I remember it's like, oh yeah, there's a black person, hurry and roll up the window. You know what I mean? If you kid in the car and stuff like that, being told that's what you're supposed to do. Right. You know what I mean? Right. Or Polynesian gentlemen, you know what I mean? Big, and they're gang members, and you should fear them. Yeah. Right? Yeah. You know, there's still a bunch of that stereotyping bullshit that goes around. You know? That's true. So where does that come from? I mean, you identified it a minute ago where I think it comes from, but I wonder what's your answer. Where do you think that comes from?
Man, I would say it has to come from the home. You know, that's the number one place where I teach my kids about life. My kids go to school every day. I'll let the teachers teach them math and science and history and whatnot. When they come to my house, I'm gonna teach you about life. And I'm gonna tell you, life is shitty. Life is shitty. But that's only if you don't work hard. If you don't work hard, life is gonna be shitty. And it's just like meeting people. The only way you're gonna have a good life is if you get along with other people. Help other people. Ask other people for help because they want to help you. Everyone's been in your shoes. Everyone's been in, the dirt that you've been in and whatnot. But there are people that can help you stand up again and keep going. I like to tell my kids, always be kind. Care for other people. I've helped multiple relatives in my family. And from me helping them, they've gone out to help other people, and look at other people as not a race, not a color. Yeah, we're all the same people. And so, yeah, I think it starts from the home. It starts from the home. I'm the head of my household. I'm the father. And the mother sees what the father is doing and trying to teach, and she's going to follow suit and teach the same values that I believe in.
I'd love that answer. I totally agree with it, right? Because, well, I just made a post yesterday for President's Day. And, you know, I did a George Washington quote where he said, everything I have, I owe to my mother. For my mother taught me this, that, you know. Yeah. So it all does begin and end at the home. Yeah. You know, none of us were born racist. Right. Nobody was born just a hateful, you know, person. We were either taught that or life experience hardened us and made us that way, right? But I read a book one time, and this book told me there's two true emotions, and everything else stems from that. And that's love and fear. You can call it whatever you want to call it. You know, you can call it anger, you can call it stress, you can call it whatever. But if you will track it back, you're going to be led to one of two spots. I either responded out of love or I responded out of fear. And unfortunately, you know what I mean? I think we respond out of fear a lot more than we even know. You know? I mean, a Polynesian person, for instance, right? A lot of you guys are big. Yeah. Kind of scary looking, right? Yeah. But my experience is, if I will smile, if I'll say hello to somebody, next thing you know, they got the biggest smile, and they're one of the most open, friendly people I've ever met. But it took me overcoming that fear and being willing to reach my hand out. You know what I mean? Right. To be able to have that experience, to be able to then, you know, have that as a new, you know, thing to look at whenever I see somebody that's a little different than me for whatever reason, you know. I'm fortunate enough to be an alcoholic drug addict. A lot of people would look at that and be like, well, did that guy just say he's glad to be an alcoholic or a drug addict? You know what I mean? Yeah. But the reality is that if I wasn't, I wouldn't have been a part of all the different AA meetings, all the different NA meetings, all the different treatment. You know what I mean? Right. I wouldn't have had the experiences that I've had that have given me the tools that I use today to be the person sitting here talking to you, right? And one of the things I was taught when I started going to AA meetings is to concentrate on the similarities and forget the differences. And I found the more that I did that, the more similar I was with people than I thought. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes it.
Concentrate on the similarities and forget the differences. And all of a sudden, I was getting something from everybody that spoke. And I didn't know who it was. It was going to give me that little, you know, nugget, whatever it was going to get me through the next day. Yeah. So I better pay attention to all of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's awesome. You just, what came to my mind was learning from your mistakes and just capitalizing on your mistakes and making them better and helping out these guys in these AA meetings. And for me, that's what I'm not afraid to tell my kids about my mistakes. I'm not afraid. I'm gonna tell them where I fall. That's right, and I tell them where I fall today. You know, I was like, good for you. Keep doing that, because I it's hard for me to do that, and so it is. I love telling my kids, learn from your mistakes, because I've been out there and I've made a lot of bad mistakes, and I'm trying to learn from them now, and I'm gonna let you know that I've been there and I've experienced that.
It'd be really easy for me to blame my dad for my alcoholism, for my drug addiction. It'd be really easy to blame my abandonment issues, to blame the police officer that pulled me over, or whatever it may be, right? Yeah. We hear that stuff all the time from people. But I got to a point in time when I had to quit pointing the finger at everybody else, and I had to start pointing the finger at me. And once I did that, what I realized was nobody ever made me do a thing. Matter of fact, if you tried to make me, I would probably do exactly the opposite just to prove to you that you couldn't make me. You know, I'm just that ignorant. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, right? So once I got to that point, I realized that I made the decision to put myself in that position. Right. Nobody else put me there. Yeah. I inevitably made a decision at some point in time in the past that put me in a position for those things to happen. And as soon as I did that, I had my power back. And now I could make a better decision and therefore get a different result. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And so, as I said, you know, I don't think I came up with this petition idea by myself. I don't think I'm bright enough for that, right? But I did a lot of praying about it, and this is what was given to me. And the more I've looked at it, the more brilliant I think it is. Because what I see happening is an event happens. It's publicized in the news, and now we all want somebody to blame. Right? And so all of a sudden we're responding and we're reacting to the symptoms of a problem that was created long ago, and wondering why we're not getting anywhere. But to get real results, we need to go back to where the problem started and make a change. And even a small shift there over time will make a huge difference. Because let me ask you this. Today, NEU gets to write the design and design the government for America, for the free country. You know what I mean? Would you divide your citizens by race?
Man, there would be some thought. There'd be some thought in my head, like, yeah, I don't know about this one. I don't know about this race. And I think everyone, but for me, yeah, I would think that. I would think that first. But I'm always up to some change. So I would put them all together. I would write something. We're all one race. Let's change it up. We're all one race. You know, let's all be equal. Let's all be equal for one change.
Why would we add that in there? Why would we want our government to divide us into groups like that? I mean, would we do it at work? You know?
Yeah. No, we don't do that work.
You know what I mean? You know, there's so much energy out there right now about equality and unity and come together in one. And everybody is doing a shoe or doing a commercial or talking about it.
Yeah.
Right? Our greatest pastime is to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know? But it all starts and ends, like you said, in the home. And what I'm teaching my kids. And what our schools are teaching our kids. You know? And without an event, something of historical, nature that could be taught in schools, it's not going to change. It's not going to be that, in the year of 2019, Nike did this fire commercial and all of a sudden things were different. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's going to be either we willingly made a decision and a change and started teaching different in schools, and over the next 10, 20, 30 years, we corrected the problem, through education, through, a concerted effort, right? Or we're going to wait until pain forces us to change and some sort of an event happens that's big enough to cause us to have to do something rather than choosing to do something. That's my personal feelings.
Yeah. No, and I agree with a lot of that. There has to be a change, especially now. Like you said, it doesn't matter if Trump's our president. I mean, what you gonna do to try to bring us together? You just gonna hate them? You're gonna love them? You can tell your kids, don't hang out with those people. Don't hang out with those people. It's got to be a middle, like you said.
Signing a petition ain't gonna do it either. It's a start. At least I took some action, right? But what I think we need to do is sign a petition, share the petition, tell as many people as we can about it. Mm-hmm. And what I'm asking people to do is to point the finger at
themselves,
you, and say, what am I going to do to break down those walls? Give love a chance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fear has got us where we are today.
Oh, yeah.
But I think if we give love a chance, if we give each other a chance, I think the kids got it figured out. I think we're the ones screwing them up at this point.
Yep.
I just watched part of a little podcast thing, an interview, and this gentleman was talking about some fever that was killing children in America. And all these doctors were studying it. And still, all these deaths. So every morning, the doctor would come in and they would do all these studies and all these tests on all these dead babies. And then they would spend their afternoon delivering babies. And finally, a gentleman looked at it and he said, well, gentlemen, to the doctors, he's like, I think you're the problem. You're doing autopsies on these babies in the morning and then delivering babies in the afternoon without washing your hands.
Wow.
And the doctors told him, you're crazy, you don't know what you're talking about. And they proceeded to do what they were doing for another 30 years before they realized that they were the problem.
That was the problem. Wow.
How long will America continue to perpetuate forward a problem that we could fix if we were willing to look at it and quit pointing the finger at everybody else and start pointing the finger at us. Can I count on you for a signature?
Yeah. Heck yeah.
You gonna tell some people about it, maybe?
Yeah. Heck yeah, man. It's got to be a change. Got to be a change.
I appreciate any help I could get.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what it means to me for you to be willing to come by and talk to me.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
I look forward to getting to know you.
Heck yeah. Thank you.